Alright, welcome to Maya 2010. Today we're going to go through different interface options, how to look around, how to create some simple objects, and also we're going to talk about different things that you can do and how they work. So, let's get started. First things first, you'll notice at the top you have a file menu that's similar to almost every program you ever use, except this file menu is actually modified by this pull down menu. Okay, this is the file menu, but this is called the status line. This area here is the status line, and the status line gives us different options, and you'll notice in this pull down menu every time I change it, my file menu changes as well. Okay, so sort of keep that in mind. Go ahead and, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and put it on polygons because we're going to use those in a little bit. In this status line you've got like file, save options, and different component type selections and snapping, and then you've got different inputs and construction history, and then finally over here you've got the menu of the input line operations, which actually shows the different transforms as well as absolute values used for current tool. These will be important later. And these buttons over here, the attribute editor, tool settings, and channel box, each one of these actually pulls up a separate half window in the main window. Alright, attribute editor actually pulls up whatever you're working on, it's attributes, so you can see how big it is, things like that. The tool settings allow you to adjust your tool settings, and we'll be dealing with a bunch of different tools. And then the channel box actually gives us a lot of different options. We get the channel box, the layer editor, and both channel box and layer editor. So we'll usually use them like this because we get a little bit of both. Layers are used just like in Photoshop. We use layers to group different objects together so we can take them out when we don't want to look at them. And we'll go into this in a future video. So I can close any window like that. Alright, so we did file menu, we did status line. Everybody, we're up here. Next is the shelf. The shelf has all these tabs on it. Alright, general, curves, surfaces, polygons, subdivisions. You'll notice that all of these can also be found here. So if you'd rather do like a pull down menu out of it, you can. It's probably easier just to click on the tab. So since we're in polygons, go ahead and click on polygons. And what this does is this aligns all of our buttons, which are basically different tools, with the different options we have up here. Okay, a lot of these tools, such as split polygon tool, are also in the polygon menu, in the file menu. Okay, so a lot of this stuff is redundant, which is okay. And if you've ever used other programs similar to Photoshop or Flash, it's the same basic setup. You're going to have a lot of redundancies. And then actually we're going to use hotkeys a lot, so we may not even use these. Okay, next. On this side here, we have the toolbox. This is our toolbox. This actually gives us options on how to move things around, how to scale things. But once again, we're not actually going to use these buttons very often because we're going to use the hotkeys. Alright, which are QWER. So you'll sort of get used to having your hand over those four keys because they're going to do a lot of work for you. Down here, this allows our this actually adjusts the main window, so we can get a 4-up view, which shows our perspective, our top, front, and side view, or we can do a outliner window and a perspective view, or animation curves, or if it doesn't crash, good, are a bunch of other useful windows basically. Okay, so once again, this is our toolbox. Down here, this is our time slider. This is for animation. Okay, if we ever want to move something around, which we will later on. This is our range slider, and this is once again all used for animation. So while we're editing, while we're actually creating objects, we don't really need to look at these. We could actually close these out and get some more space to look at. Next is our command line, and that shows MEL. That's a Maya language that allows you to execute different things without pressing buttons. So it allows you to write little scripts. What we're going to use this for most often is to activate our Actor X options, which is how we export out of Maya and into UDK. And finally down here, this is the helpline, and it displays short help tips for tools and selections, just like it says. So if I go up here to the extrude tool, you'll see down the helpline says extrude the selected component. So that's pretty useful. Now what's nice is in this main window area, whatever screen I'm hovering over, if I just tap the space bar, it automatically maximizes that screen. Now if I tap the space bar again, it goes back to whatever screen layout I had before I maximized that view. So for instance, if I've got the animation curve editor open and I hit spacebar here, if I hit spacebar again, it's going to go back to that. So right now we're going to make sure we're in the fork, like the quad view, and then I'm going to maximize the perspective view. Okay, so we've gone over the different options. We've got our file menu, our status line, our shelf, our toolbox. We had our time slider, but we got rid of it. Our range slider, we got rid of that too. And now we have our command line and help line. Okay? Great. Now, in order to look around in Maya, if you just click, you're not going to be able to turn anything, right? You're not going to be able to see anything move or whatever. If you left click, you get this weird like line, or if you hold left click, you'll get other weird options, right? Well, in order to move around, you hold the Alt key. Once again, you should get used to having your 4 fingers on QWER, your pinky through pointer on QWER, and then your thumb is going to hop between Alt and space, because you'll tap the space bar to bounce back and forth between windows, and you'll hold Alt to move around. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and create something. Earlier we set polygon view or polygon menu, and we clicked on this tab. So let's go ahead and hit the cube button here, and it's going to give us some directions. Drag the base on the grid. So we're going to drag. I'm just right clicking and dragging. Notice I can go either way. I'll put that there, and then I'm going to click inside and pull up. Alright, now if I hold Alt and use my left mouse button, I rotate around the center. Okay? Actually, in this case, it's not really the center. If I hold the left mouse button and I drag left to right, I zoom out or in. Okay? Now if I use the middle mouse button, I get to pan. I pan around. So the camera stays on the plane that it is and basically moves side to side. Okay? Now, you may say, alright, that's a cube, but it kind of just looks like an empty box. Well, all of these options up here in our view window, in our work window, you can see view, shading, lighting, show, render panels. A lot of that is duplicated in these buttons here. Okay? For instance, right now we are in what's called a wireframe view. Okay? If I click the button next to the wireframe view, I'll get smooth shade all. Now if I click outside of the box, if I click on the box, you see it gets highlighted in green, and I get this fun little widget where I can move things around. But if I click outside, there's no like edges. The next wireframe on shaded, the next option, gives us a wireframe, so I can actually see a thin blue line there. That's actually super helpful because sometimes you need to be able to see where those edges and faces are. Next we have textured, so if you have texture it'll throw that on there. And then finally is high quality. High quality is nice for like full-on textures with normal maps and things of that nature. There's a bunch of other buttons up here that we're going to get to eventually. A lot of them we're not really going to use. All of these are so that you can make videos more effectively, and then there's different camera stuff and X-raying stuff, but we're not even going to worry about that. The key here for now is to use and get used to creating objects with the tool buttons up here and holding Alt and spinning around. Alright? So that's basically it for now. Go ahead and take a few minutes and play around with this.